One of the aspects, this is a sociological phenomenon that's actually happened fairly recently, or it's been redone fairly recently in the last big recession in the country, a recession, depression, whatever you want to call it. There were tent cities springing up everywhere. Folks had their houses foreclosed on, jobs gone away. It was sad times, and I don't know that we've ever completely come out of it. You can lie with statistics, and governments tend to be pretty good about that sort of thing, because when your optimism goes out the window, well, all sorts of things can happen, revolutions and stuff like that. God forbid. So when the Jodes got out to California, they found there were lots of tent cities sort of taking place. And what happened in these tent cities was a collection of 5,000, sometimes 10,000 people congregating outside towns like Fresno and Bakersfield. And these folks would take care of each other. A form of civil government sort of took place. There were kind of paramilitary people who were there to make sure that curfews were observed, and babies got born in these camps, and folks married in these camps. And on a regular basis, though, the good folk over there in the big cities would sometimes say, I hear there's red literature out there among those 5,000, 10,000 destitute workers. And if the workers did get out there and find work, let me backtrack just a little bit. If they found a job, it was usually in canning or packing or sometimes the railroad or just harvesting. If they found a job, you had one guy who was trying to feed, families, sometimes 4 and 5, all at once, just on his minimum wages, small wages. So they took care of one another. It's very biblical in some ways. But the folks in the bigger towns, sometimes they would get wind or rumors of uprisings or potential uprisings. So this did happen numerous times. They would let the folks in jail out in their cities, in their metropolitan areas, and they'd hand them some gasoline and matches, and they'd say, there's a tent city just south of Fresno, north of Bakersfield, whatever, and if that's not there on Monday morning, you guys have a good time this weekend, and we don't know nothing about it. So these folks were regularly burned out of their homes, just for Americans on Americans, just trying to find some dignity in the world, I suppose. This song came off a record that I did with the Vigilantes 2 years ago. The song's called Faith Comes Soaked in Gasoline. I don't know what you heard before you got here. Don't know what you thought you'd see. One thing about faith you can be sure of, well, it all comes soaked in gasoline. 4-man's car pulls into Hooverville. He's got 100 jobs for 1,000 men. 'Cause our kids look like skeletons, well, it won't cost him much of anything. A gun-toting deputy wears a shiny badge, but that kind of justice don't mean a thing. Yeah, one thing about faith you can be sure of, well, it all comes soaked in gasoline. They'll douse the camp at midnight, so you better be up and packed. One day something more than fire's gonna fall when that fella strikes the match. They say the Savior had nowhere to lay his head, and pretty soon neither shall we. One thing about faith you can be sure of, well, it all comes soaked in gasoline. I don't know what you heard before you got here. Don't know what you thought you'd see. One thing about faith you can be sure of, well, it all comes
soaked in gasoline, and I'll come soaked in gasoline. I'm soaked in gasoline.
Let me get the right heart. Y'all just clap. 1, 2, and this is a breakdown. A folk rock breakdown. Sorry, I messed that up.